This is the INKPULP podcast. This is the INKPULP podcast. Comics, hip hop, life. Welcome to the INKPULP podcast. It's your boy, Sean Crystal. Let me take a minute here. I've got a bunch of new merch out on my TeePublic site. Like this t-shirt I'm wearing. Got a whole Skull series. It's red. Anyways, that's not what today's show's about. Just wanted to pimp it just for a second. Today's part 5 of how to break into comics. And we've covered a lot of other stuff. And today on this episode, I talked about like the American mainstream publishers, and now I want to talk about some other avenues you can go in. One of which is book publishing market, which is almost like an entirely separate market from the American mainstream, because American mainstream is focused very much on floppies, which are comic books, thin 20-something page floppy comic books. The book market is really focused on graphic novels, thick hardcover, softcover, full stories, all in one book, done. So there's publishers like Scholastic and Random House and First Second that do some great comics. I mean, Raina Telgemeier, if you don't know that name, you want to familiarize yourself with that name. She has produced some amazing graphic novels and is very successful in the book market. I myself haven't worked in the book market, don't know too much about it, but I do know this. You need an agent. And the book market is like when you go to comic book conventions, you might see a small presence of the book market, but there's library conferences where the book market's in full effect. And that's where you want to go if that's the route you want to choose. And the book market is more open in terms of genre. American mainstream is very focused on superheroes and then some sci-fi and horror, fantastic elements and stuff like that. The book market... there's a big part of the book market that's for young readers, young YA readers, they call them, young adults, like Raina's work. And there's children's stuff, there's anything goes. I mean, it's a genre creative pool. So it's not genre specific. But you need an agent that will go around and shop your work around, because you can't just approach book publishers. That's not how that world works. Like someone in the Stephen King world, you have an agent, and your agent shops your stuff around. So you need to get an agent. How do you do that? There are literary agencies that you can find online and look for a rep that way. This is an area I'm not fully versed in, so I don't want to give any misinformation, but that's generally what I know. But stuff that I know I can easily find out if I want to go that route. So aside from book publishers, there's also webtoons. And I don't mean Webtoons, the specific site. There's a digital publisher called Webtoons, and they're wonderful. But when I say Webtoons, I mean digital comics that you find on the internet in tons of different formats. I mean, here, like in the book world, you're kind of confined to the printing press and the sizes and dimensions that can handle. In the internet, you can have what's called an infinite canvas, where you just keep scrolling through the comic, and that can go on and on and on and on. There's no end to it. That's up to you to decide. And that's just one format, the infinite canvas. And there's others. I mean, I've seen on Instagram, like, people make square panel comics, and you can do 10 panels in one post. So, up to 10 panels, you get a chapter, and then next week do another. So that's another means. But when we're talking about webtoon publishers, that like the publisher Webtoons, they have a presence at Comic-Cons, and just like I said about the mainstream publishers, you approach them, network, show them samples, maybe you want to pitch them, whatever. They're there to recruit talent. Maybe I didn't say it last time, but that's part of the publisher's presence at a convention, is to recruit talent, to find future projects for them to get involved with. So with Webtoon, I know they pay a certain amount of money for you to produce the work, and then you own a healthy percentage of the work. And they also have a media development company. So, and there's not just Webtoons, there's other publishers, but that's another avenue. And the thing is, if you look at the digital readership, the American mainstream publishers are a dwarf compared to the behemoth that is webcomics. So it's kind of interesting to watch this small industry ignore this entire monster industry. I think the creators are paying attention more and more, but it seems to be like American mainstream publishers, it's to their best interest to pretend that doesn't exist right now. But that's a monster industry, and it's where things are going, I believe, in a lot of ways. And then lastly, that's all getting someone to hire you, to give you permission to be a professional. But nowadays you don't need that. So the last thing I want to talk about is do it yourself. And I touched on this a little bit on the last episode, but thanks to the internet, you can do it yourself. I've done self-publishing. A lot of creators I knew do self-publishing. You can self-publish on the internet, like on Instagram, like I just suggested. You can just build your own website and house your own webcomic on it, and just hustle and promote and get people to notice it. Go to cons, hand out flyers, maybe make some print material to get people to go to your website, whatever. It's an age where we can do that. I didn't have that. I mean, to self-publish your own book takes money, and it's an investment. To self-publish your own digital comic costs you time. And I know time is money, but you have the ability to not need actual money, just your time to produce and put it out. The internet's free. Maybe you need a couple $100 for a website, but Instagram's free. So you can do it yourself that way. Another option is, let's say you do want to get into publishing, like an actual physical copy. You have crowdfunding as another option. And a lot of creators are exploring this now and having a lot of success. I myself am getting into this pool. I've done crowdfunding for my art books, which is a self-published book. It's not a narrative, it's a collection of artwork, but same idea. So with Kickstarter and Indiegogo or GoFundMe, there's different avenues for you to just get your work out there. And that didn't exist when I was coming up. So it's really incredible to have all of these opportunities. And because of that, I think creatively, comics are in a really healthy place creatively, because anything goes and it's the Wild West. And you can just find a way to get your work out there. And I encourage you to do so. And don't listen to those doubtful voices in your head. If you want to do this and you believe in yourself, just do it. Don't let, what your mom said or what your cousin said or what your friend said prevent you. The difference, a lot of times, the difference between someone who succeeds and someone who doesn't is simply the fact the person who succeeds did it. That's it. They sat down, they did the work, they created it, where the other person probably didn't. So, I say take advantage of these times, and you never know. That stuff, that creator-owned thing that you self-published on the internet could end up becoming a huge success in and of itself, and you can find different ways to monetize that too. Merchandise, maybe print editions, maybe a Patreon. I know people are doing Patreon comics. Subscribe to my monthly Patreon, and every day you get a panel, or every week you get a page. I know Ed Piskor for Red Room did a Patreon. Every week he showed a page of work, and he was making a decent amount of money every month while he was working on the book. So that money coming in allowed him to work. It was fucking brilliant. But Ed's a smart guy. So be creative. These are just some ideas I have. I am I'm not an expert on any of this. I just know a bit about it. But Creative minds can come up with amazing ways to do this stuff. So, yeah, I guess that's about it for getting into the pool. That's how you do it. Sounds easy. It really boils down to you doing the work. Whether it's sample pages, another thing I should have talked about on last episode. If you're approaching Marvel and DC for work, you want to show them how you work with their characters. You want to show them how your style fits in with what they do. And that style might be very specific to, let's say you're an artist who's very moody and hard driven with lots of black ink. Well, do Batman pages then, because that fits there. But maybe don't do Superman pages, because that doesn't mesh, if that makes sense. But yeah, you're going to want to draw their characters, spending time doing 3 to 5 pages of sequential storytelling, not pinups, and show them that work. That's what they want to see. So I hope this has been helpful so far. We got one more to go. I'll see you on the next episode, episode 6 of How to Break Into Comics. Peace.
This is the INKPULP Podcast. This is the INKPULP Podcast. Comics, hip hop, life.